Cleanenergy is what has accompanied humanity since the Industrial Revolution. Today, solar panels or wind turbines no longer surprise anyone, so I will tell you about the 7 most amazing sources of energy for the future, although some of them are already being used today. But before watching the video, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment, as it helps the channel grow. In 7th place is the energy from the heat of underground lava flows. The method of converting heat that rises from the depths of the Earth's crust into energy is used for the needs of millions of people around the world, for example in the Philippines or Iceland. To obtain energy in this way, power stations are required. These stations use wells that are drilled into deep layers of the earth where the temperature is higher than usual. Water passes through these wells and is heated, turning into steam. The steam moves towards turbines, which convert its energy into electricity. Geothermal energy is clean and safe, as no carbon dioxide or other harmful substances are emitted during its production. In addition, it is a constant source of energy, as the temperature of underground layers remains constant for a long time. In 6th place are space solar power stations. In 1941, Isaac Asimov published a story called Reason, in which he described a solar power station that received electricity from photovoltaic cells. This energy was then transmitted to Earth via microwaves. Earth's orbit is the most favorable environment for placing such power stations because on Earth, the sun does not shine for most of the year due to night taking up about 1/3 of each day. And about half of all days in a year are cloudy or partly cloudy. Thus, harvesting solar energy on Earth is not efficient, unlike in near-Earth orbit, where the sun is almost always shining except during eclipses. However, there are still issues with transportation, both of solar panels and the corresponding equipment to the orbit, as well as transmitting electricity to Earth. The first issue has a solution, the Starship spacecraft, which still needs some improvements, but overall, its concept is suitable for transporting solar panels to Earth's orbit. The second issue, regarding the transmission of electricity to Earth, is much more difficult to solve. Microwaves can penetrate the Earth's atmosphere, but if there is moisture in the atmosphere, a significant portion of the energy will be absorbed. There is also a theoretical situation where microwaves can pass through clouds, in which case their receiving stations on Earth will have a diameter of over 10 kilometers. So, what should these wave-receiving stations look like? In general, this concept of generating electricity does not yet have a practical solution. But if it can be implemented, humanity will almost constantly receive electricity, and it will only be necessary to timely maintain such solar power plants. Hydrogen takes 5th place. Yes, you heard right. Hydrogen is the most abundant element in the universe, and engines that burn pure hydrogen practically do not produce emissions. This type of energy production was used by NASA to refuel shuttles, and a passenger plane was also converted in the USSR to fly on hydrogen fuel. The essence of this type of energy production is very simple. Hydrogen occurs in nature only in compounds such as water, H2O. Thus, we can produce hydrogen by splitting water into oxygen and hydrogen atoms through electrolysis. Pure water is released when hydrogen is burned. Therefore, this type of energy production can truly be called safe and environmentally friendly. Nuclear waste energy takes 4th place. Currently, there are 442 nuclear reactors operating in the world, and they all work on the same principle. Water surrounds the fuel rods, thereby slowing down neutrons and maintaining a stable reaction. But in this system, only 5% of uranium atoms in the rods are used by the end of their service life. But now there is a more efficient technology of fast reactors, where rods are immersed in liquid sodium. This allows us to use about 95% of uranium, and this method of energy production will help solve the problem of getting rid of nuclear waste, as we can reuse it. Thus, this method of energy production not only surpasses the traditional one in efficiency, but also helps achieve practically waste-free energy production, minimizing harm to the environment. 3rd place goes to floating wind turbines. Wind energy is one of the leading sectors of modern energy that is developing very dynamically. Flying wind turbines do not require foundation installation. Moreover, they operate at a higher altitude than conventional wind turbines, which is also a plus, as the wind at high altitudes is stronger and more stable. Such a floating wind turbine will be anchored to the ground and float at a height of about 300–500 meters. Additionally, such wind turbines can be equipped with Wi-Fi modules, which can provide internet access in parts of the world where it is still unavailable. Second place is taken by biofuels. Biofuel is fuel made from plant or animal raw materials, organism waste products, or organic industrial waste. The production of biofuels is only gaining momentum today, as ethanol and biodiesel have become the main substitutes or additives to automotive fuel. This type of fuel energy has been overshadowed by the discovery of cheap oil deposits, but today there is a revival of biofuel energy. The most efficient raw material for fuel production today is third-generation biological fuel. This type of biological fuel includes algae that can replace oil once and for all. Algae are grown in open ponds as well as in small bioreactors located near power plants, as the waste heat from thermal power plants can meet up to 70% of the heat requirements necessary for algae cultivation. The International Energy Agency sees bioenergy as a potential source of over 20% of primary energy by 2050. First place is deservedly occupied by nuclear fusion. Nuclear fusion is a process that occurs inside the sun and other stars. It allows for the generation of energy from the fusion of atomic nuclei. This requires very high temperatures and pressures. Currently, scientists are working on creating reactors that could replicate the process of nuclear fusion on Earth. This would allow for the production of clean and safe energy without the emission of carbon dioxide and other harmful substances. One of the most well-known projects is the International Thermonuclear Experimental Reactor, ITER, which is being built in France. Its goal is to create a thermonuclear fusion reaction that will result in the release of a large amount of energy. To achieve this, conditions must be created in which hydrogen atom nuclei combine to form helium nuclei. This occurs at very high temperatures and pressures when atoms become ions and begin to interact with each other. One of the main advantages of thermonuclear fusion is that it uses very cheap fuel, hydrogen. In addition, this process does not release carbon dioxide, which is the main source of global warming. However, creating reactors for thermonuclear fusion is a very complex task that requires large investments and scientific efforts. Currently, this method of energy production cannot compete with traditional sources of energy, but in the future, it could become one of the main sources of energy on the planet. All of these methods show that if oil reserves run out, we will not be left without a source of energy. Moreover, the aforementioned sources of energy are more environmentally friendly than those currently being used.